Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, little children, dogs and cats, welcome back.
Well,
You missed us to another rousing rendition of what we like to call here the BREADren podcast. That's bread spelled like bread, BREAD, because we always talk about bread and we always get into it. And when I say we, I always must introduce, starting at PhD, Dr. Ajamu Loving and Mr. Destrian Wells. My illustrious
well,
co-host, how are you gentlemen doing? It's been a long time and we shouldn't have left you without a dope beat step too.
oh man, I like that intro. Yeah, no, it's good to hear from you, bro. It's good to see y'all looking, sounding great. I'm I'm feeling in a good space. Man.
That's amazing.
Likewise, man. You know what it is, man. Just pulling up on y'all fellas, man, checking in. Definitely missed the interaction. It's been a lot going on, a lot to talk about, but couldn't be in a better space and happy to spend this time not only with y'all, but with the good people, man, that support and sponsor us. So all love, man.
Well, speaking of sponsors, we definitely must give a shout out to all of our individual entities that help make this thing a thing. Uh, Destrian Wells Consulting, Loving Consulting, and 248 MMBB Business Concierge. Uh, we thank you all for your patronage and your support. Even though it's been a while since we dropped any content, we had the cocktail convos uh, running up. We did, drop a few episodes of, straight original OG BREADren. And we figured that we go ahead and round and wrap this season up. And at the beginning of the season, we decided to embark on the journey of the three L's: liquidity, longevity, and legacy. And we've given you two of the three. So I figured we take this opportunity to go ahead and finish it, the trifecta, as I'll call it. And we'll talk about legacy tonight. There's been a lot of communication amongst us outside of the BREADren podcast, because obviously we are colleagues, associates, and friends. But this is our space. We come in, we kind of keep it real with everybody on, how we feel and how things are. So, like I said, we'll talk about legacy. But before we do in true and typical in OG BREADren fashion, we like to embark on these conversations with a little libation. And so let's go around the horn. Now, if you've been listening to us for a while, you'll know Mr. Destrian Wells needs no introduction to this because he is a very consistent person. But we
But,
have been
but,
we have been alerted that there's a slight
yeah,
tweak in the starting lineup this evening.
a twist.
It's like if the created player got a bonus. Mr. Wells, what are we sipping on this evening?
I'm gonna let y'all introduce it, man, because that's extremely embarrassing that you just did. The fact that you called me consistent, I'll take that. But
It's Hennessy.
Right.
yeah, but it's
Wait, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to shout that
Whoa,
out?
whoa, 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 wait. We know it's Hennessy, but what kind of Hennessy is it? Mr. Wells, what kind of Hennessy is it?
being that we're closing the season out, I felt it'd be right to come with a celebratory beverage. And so I couldn't bring the regular Hennessy. I couldn't just bring the black. I couldn't bring the VSOP, but I came tonight with the XO.
Wow.
What?
Wow. Wow.
Ooh. Bruce Lee himself didn't have that in Into the
Well,
Dragon.
Bruce
He,
Lee said,
you
be
know.
like water. And I'm being like water, my friend.
Oh snap! Look at him.
Wow.
Look at him.
That's
I
Dr.
feel like
Loving.
that's it. Yes, sir.
What,
So
pray tell?
I'm feeling very Texan today. So I got a little iced tea mixed with a uncle that's very close to me. He's
The nearest.
quite near me, Uncle
Mm,
Nearest.
Mm,
Yes, that
yes.
1894.
Black
Just
home.
yes. Well, I feel like anytime I see his whiskey on the shelf, which by the way, folks are buying it. It's delicious. And so, it's not always right there. But that Uncle Nearest, I always will get it when I have the opportunity. So,
Shout out to Uncle Nearest, by the way. I'm still working on trying to get that sponsorship as a thing. But give me 2 seconds. Let me just check because I believe they just hit a milestone that's pretty big. I think it's 100 million. A hundred
okay.
million.
bottles of
Bottles?
tequila.
Was it bottles or dollars? Now all of a sudden, oh, here we go. Um,
I mean, that's a lot of bottles, but
I'm gonna send you guys some
Always.
Laportier for Christmas.
So what's that now?
I'm gonna send you guys some Laportier for Christmas. Shout out to Uncle Sharp, Shay Sharp.
I'm just saying, wait for every man. Look, when the BREADren liquors come out, I just want everybody to keep all this.
We're gonna need them.
Oh yeah, they exceeded 100 million in sales. So shout out to Uncle Nears. There we go.
Man. Shout out to him, man. That's a beautiful thing.
I want some of that Earl Stevens collection. I want some of that E40 cognac he got. I was watching they $1 million worth of game, and it was him, Too Short, and Ice Cube talking about Mount Westmore. And him and Q was drinking it.
Hey man,
he got a whole lineup.
Hey Jay, before we get to your beverage of the evening, man, shout out to $1 million worth of game for signing this historic deal that they just signed. They have been an affiliate of Barstool Sports for several years, but Barstool actually introduced them to their venture capitalist group, and that venture capitalist group backed $1 million worth of game to the tune of reportedly, and I use the word reportedly, $100 million podcast deal. So shout out to them fellas, man.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, man. Like Wallow and Gilly for being consistent and staying the course, but getting their business right. It's very rare that you see, and it needs to be more readily available that Black men in business together have their paperwork and their business together in such a way that money does not become the root of all evil or tears their business down. And I think they've done a fantastic job of creating a business model that others can follow, and hopefully we can do the same. But man, shout out to them fellas for doing that. But no doubt, shout out.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
We've been doing this thing for a lot longer than this podcast, so don't act like that. Ain't no hopefully.
Yeah, man.
We've been outside for a while.
I'm drinking Slain Irish whiskey. Let's move on.
Oh,
yeah, that was very
in BREADren fashion.
Hey,
because I don't want to spend too much time, boasting up.
Yeah, I mean we did
other people's platforms. Shout out to them, and we can move on.
Facts.
Other than that, longer than 10 seconds is a commercial, and we got to get paid.
There you go.
To a wonderful conversation being had, bread being made, and crumbs being dropped, and those being able to digest it. Cheers.
Cheers, my brother.
Yes, indeed.
Well, like I said, we're going to finish this thing on out strong. And we're going to talk about legacy tonight. But just to give some context to the conversation, you may want to pause here and go back and listen to the 2 previous episodes about liquidity and longevity, and the intro episode to the season where we kind of lay it all out. But legacy is the long-lasting impact of particular events, actions, etc. that took place in the past or of a person's life. That is the definition of legacy. So what I will start with the question that I'll pose to both of you all in an open form is, do we agree that that's the definition, or do we want to add some caveats to it? Is that too vague for us? Or when we embarked on this journey for the season, talking about the 3 L's, was your legacy just a little bit deeper than that, run-of-the-mill definition?
So, I'll go first, and this is Wells, but I personally think it's very nuanced per family, per individual, and then even per situation. Minutes, well, I'll start with seconds. Seconds, minutes, moments, hours, days, weeks, months, years determine your legacy. All of those things are a cumulative effect that add up to become not only who you are, but who you will be to other people. And I think one of the things that you really have to think about is how you're spending your time in terms of your legacy. So at its core, yes, I agree with that definition, but I think it's nuanced, because depending on a person's situation, What they need to do to define their legacy is different, but the ultimate outcome is typically the same. You want to put your family in a better situation than you were, and you want to leave people better than you met them. And I think that's the core crux of the legacy conversation. The intermediate steps that you take to get there, some are generic, but some are specific to the situation. But Doc, if you want to opine on that, I'm happy to yield to you.
No, I feel like legacy is important, especially among Black folks who have the opportunity to leave one. And I think the numbers of us that have the opportunity are far greater than we anticipate or think of sometimes. I feel like a lot of times folks are like, well, I'm not where I want to be yet. I don't have a legacy to live. Legacy is what happens at the end of life. But to your point about how things are prepared over time, the fact is your legacy is something you can start and then build on as you move forward. And I think it's important to think about that because all of these financial concepts are evolving ones. Even the goals that you have can change as the amount of achievement that you have changes over time. I think all of us set goals for ourselves, and sometimes we fall short, and I think that happens a lot. But a lot of times, the most confusing position to be in is one where you are ahead of where you plan to be, and you start to say, "Okay, well, what do I do with that?" Right? And when you know that you want to be able to leave something, whether it's to the next generation of your family or to a charity or just some other broad thing that you're thinking about, having a legacy is about having forethought. It's about recognizing your own mortality, and that takes a level of maturity to do that, because I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable with the idea of recognizing and acknowledging their own mortality. But the fact is, we all gonna go. And so what is it that you want to do in accordance with that? And in terms of providing for you, not just providing for your family, but creating opportunity for the next generation. That's a lot of faith, man.
So I like the way that things just always happen because once again, here we go. Serendipity. I don't even know if that means what I wanted to mean right now, but it will
just
right
serendipitous.
now.
Sounds right.
See.
Look at that.
But Doc, you bring up a good point that I literally just jotted down a note about you kind of alluded to the presence of legacy, right? Like as we are here, legacy is still a thing. Like the legacy is not finite until you are done. Up until the minute that you leave, you still have an effect and a control and a power over your legacy. Like you could have an amazing legacy up until this point of your life, and tomorrow you can completely derail that, So I want to address the presence of legacy, and also, there's a longevity with legacy, because like even DJ said, it's the minutes, the seconds. It's not just like, oh, what is your legacy? What did you do over all of these? If you live to be 100, what did you do over 100 years? It could have been something amazing that you did over the course of 10 years. And then you just, like somebody who invented, something that just changed lives, and they just, went and got a house out in the country and just lived out their days, farming or something, just, easy living. Yeah. And, never technically in the eyes of others may have had another large impact on humanity, but that moment, that small investment was enough to solidify a legacy, as long as they didn't fuck it up towards the end. Now we got to put the E for explicit on this episode. My bad.
No, that's all fucking good.
But yeah, I want to address, and DJ, I'm coming to you because I saw you ready to chime in, but I want to talk about the presence of legacy. Mm-hmm. And like I said, just, its ability to It's a living thing.
Well, I won't be long. I'll be brief because I know originally Doc, you're gonna go to Doc on this, but and just for folks that are listening, there is no script to this. So we're getting these questions like as you're getting them as well. And we just really believe in being candid and having open conversation. And if we don't know what the fuck we're talking about, we shouldn't be talking about it. And so that's just one of the things that I think makes us unique and different. Like we're going to speak on topics that we can be relevant about, but at the same time, we're going to be open. We're going to be honest in real time. So that's important. But number two, when you talk about in real time, I use the example of LeBron James. 20 years, this guy's been great. He's been all time great. He is see, you can become a living legend. Your legacy can be solidified right in front of you. You can know that you've done it, but you have to take the actions to solidify it. And like a lot of people hope and wish and pray, and while I subscribe to all of those things, I do believe in concrete action. This person is taking concrete action to make themselves one of the, not only the greatest basketball players of all times, but he'll probably go down as one of the greatest historical figures of all time. That doesn't happen by happenstance. That's intentionality, right? And that word, we used that in a previous season about being intentional. In order to create a lasting legacy, a living legacy, and that's a part of it too. There's a legacy when you no longer exist, but there's also a living legacy portion of this. How relevant are you to the younger individuals in your family if you haven't created a living legacy that they can reference, where you have a calling card or a reference point that they can pull from to say, I have to listen to Dr. Loving, Granddad. I have to listen to great aunt DJ, or I have to listen to my godfather AJ. That's equity in young people's lives. And the real benefit to a legacy is that you are impacting other generations. If you're not doing that, your legacy is just put up on a mantle and it's something for people to talk about when you're gone. But if you want to have and choose your words wisely, impactful legacy. See, I want to leave an impactful legacy. I want to leave a lasting legacy that is impactful. So I want to have influence over the lives of people that come after me. And that's bigger than money. It's about how I spend my time, where I spend my time, how I choose my friends, how I devote myself to my family, how I work. What's my value system? How do I value money? I want to transfer all of those things as my living legacy while I'm here so that I can help cultivate and make adjustments to the family while I'm around so that they can then be able to do the same thing when I'm gone and pass that down through generations. And ultimately, our names ring like the Rothschilds, the Clintons, the Bushes, the these, the that's, the others, because legacy rings true through generations.
I know what you mean, but I just want to be clear. I don't really want my name to ring like theirs ring now.
Well, that's the funny thing. That's the thing. It's like that is why it's important for you to transfer not just the value of the
but
funds,
the
values that came with it. Exactly, right? Because at the end of the day, like money and legacy is not always a good thing. Hitler got a legacy. He does. We see it. We saw the tiki torches, man. Like Hitler got a legacy. Whether you like to think it or not, these people who of a certain ilk value what it is that he brought to bear, and and you're seeing it among some black people in some disturbing ways. But I ain't gonna get on this, but I'm just saying, like you see some things about people where they are willing to admire successes of literally anybody without recognizing that some of these things came from a lot of harm. and a lot of destruction and a
Gary
lot
Chambers
of
said a broken watch is right twice a day.
exactly. So you got to be careful about what it is that you push out there is positive. Now, to DJ's point, when you start thinking about your own family and trying to impart positivity and opportunity, and that's what wealth creates. More than anything else, you have choice, you have opportunity when you have wealth. And these are the things that within a capitalist society are extraordinarily important and extraordinarily important in every society, no matter how they classify themselves. The people who have opportunity, the people who have access to resources are the individuals who are the most fortunate in that economy, regardless of the system. And that's, that can make you feel comfortable or uncomfortable or whatever about the system that you choose to believe in. But I guarantee you it's true about all of them, right? But when we start to think about leaving something for that next generation or generations beyond them, you're talking about interesting concepts of discipline and expressions of love that require faith to say, I want to provide for a person that not only I've never even met, like I got kids that are babies, little young boys bouncing around, and I want to provide for the children that they create and make certain that they can look back at Grandpa Wells and that next generation, great Grandpa Wells, as having created a future for them. And you see a lot of billionaires giving away funds and saying, I don't want to set my kid up to be a master of the universe just because I did this and made this money. I want them to be able to start from square one. But see, everything is relative. And when you start talking about Black folks and having 1/10 the wealth of the average white family, when you have an opportunity to create a legacy, you have a responsibility to create a legacy. See, I don't normally come up with taglines, but that's one right there.
Well, I think we talked about it in one of the previous episodes, about how to even embark on the journey of wanting generational wealth, legacy, and all of this future stuff. It takes a bit of unselfishness, because you have to really and truly understand that most of the benefits you will not reap, and it's not for you to reap; it's for the lineage to reap.
Yeah, but if you ever got to watch somebody else's lineage reap it while you worked at the grocery store, a kid's Foot
You
Locker,
see it all around. You just said that Black folks have 1/10 the wealth of white people. Depending on where you lived, like if you were an upwardly mobile, part of an upwardly mobile black family in the early 90s, you probably moved to the suburbs. You saw these families, who, they basically had it. They had it better than what we had it.
Who sold you the house?
When we moved to the suburbs, my neighbors' grandparents used to come cut their grass.
Who sold you the house?
Who sold what house? The one here?
No, when you moved to the suburbs, anywhere.
We had a black realtor.
No,
we always used a black realtor.
What family was moving out?
Oh, a white family moved out.
The reason why,
we were probably like the second or third black family. To move into their neighborhood.
So we were the third black family in our neighborhood when I was 6 years old. And
what we call it? It's called white flight. Go look it up. But look, that ain't even what we talking about right here.
But no.
But listen, I gotta tell you this right here. I gotta tell you what my man Pericles said. Okay, Pericles was a Greek statesman. What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. And I might add some like wind chimes right there, because that's a magical statement, but it's really not. Well, he just said exactly what we're saying. It's not the tangible. It's not the tangible things. The real legacy is going to be like how you impact others. Money is fine.
I agree with that.
Money is fine.
going back to what I said in the comments, it's about imparting your value system on the people that will ultimately inherit the money, because they're the ones that's gonna take it and do something with it.
So let's take a turn.
Let's go.
I'm stopping you because
Yeah,
I want to just grab the
no, because
wheel and turn it. But look, hear me
because
out.
when you say, it's important to recognize that the money is a part of it, bro.
No, but hear
It
me
is
out.
a
But hear
part
me
of
out.
it.
Because I'm snatching the wheel right now, and I want this to veer off course, but I don't.
Come on.
When people embark on this, liquidity, longevity, legacy, and a lot of it is very money driven. And we've been careful, I'll say, and this is my personal opinion, we've been very careful to teeter and toe that line of the balance of financial, but also spiritual, mental, just you gotta have it all.
The holistic person.
Yeah.
The holistic person.
The bionic man had a bunch of different pieces. It wasn't just one. But look. What happens? What happens when the people focus? They start off focusing and they don't change it, where it's just strictly financial legacy. And now, because like somebody said, one of the old folks say, a fool and his money shall soon depart.
Oh, you will depart, because look, man, two things are certain: death and taxes. Right? So you can make a bunch of money, and that's great. You're gonna die. What do the people that inherit that money do with it? So it depends on your relationship with them. So again, it goes back to your value system. Look, man, I'm super fortunate right now. Corporate, business, outside business, everything. It could not stay like this for me. If I have to go cut grass, I'll figure it out. I don't care. The money is not the biggest thing. It's the opportunities that are being created for my children. The relationships and the people that my children are rubbing elbows with when they go to school. Yeah. I'm creating a different lifestyle for my children, but they have the same value system I have: hard work, authenticity, being authentically Black, which is important to me. I want you to care about all people, but I want you to be proud of who you are first. I want you to be proud of that. And I feel like, in terms of a legacy, bro, like when I really this moves me, because I have two sons, Black sons. It's important for me to call it out, because I have to protect them differently in the world than I talk to some of my constituents, and they're like, yeah, my son walks home from school every day. I'm like, I would never. Yeah. I don't care where they go to school at. I don't care what neighborhood I live in. I'm coming to get you. I'm doing that.
But let's be honest, that's an upwardly mobile thing, though.
AJ, I live in an upwardly mobile area.
I'm just saying, like, we always have to have that balance where we have to acknowledge that there are people who do not have that option to say, I will never, like there are people who, like, my kids got to take public transportation. No, I'm just saying. But I understand. But no, I'm just saying I understand that you're speaking from your personal point of view.
You gotta recognize.
Let me say this, right, guys. Give me 1 second. Let me say.
I always like to check my privilege.
No, yeah. And that's important, because you're absolutely correct. I have the opportunity, based on the situation that I have, to be present and available to do that, and therefore I do it. I capitalize on that opportunity. I do not take that for granted. But for those who have to go to work and go clock in and do something else, and
we grew up with that,
they're trying to be everything to solve for all the variables that are missing in their children's life. I have zero judgment for that, because I was a latchkey kid. I had a key to my house when I was 5 years old. So I think that's a great point. And I want to go on record as saying I apologize if I made it sound as though I was insensitive to that, because I'm not. Because
you made it sound
no. Like you were speaking from your personal experience, but I want to make sure that nobody will ever be able to call us elitist or highbrow in our conversation.
Because he had to say it, because there's a lot of men who are in a position where they could do this and they choose not to. That's the truth. You know, there's a lot of brothers who are doing well, who could take their kids to school, who could be more present, who choose not to. And it's
So
true.
devil's
Like, and
advocate.
so,
So
hey,
now,
brother,
devil's advocate, but depending on how engulfed in work they are they that
man,
engulfed in work because of the we got to work twice as hard,
look, brother, like, let
or
me tell
just
you, like, there's no amount of work that you can work to make up for the fact that you black. Like,
no true that?
you can,
No, my
you know what I'm saying?
my
Like,
job knows my child comes first.
if that's the issue, you don't have the answer. You just got to do what you can do to make sure you're always on top of your game. But the fact is, you don't get you don't get to outkick that coverage, my friend. It's not a thing that you get to do. So you do what you can do, and Destrian is doing. He's doing his thing, and I think it's important that he says that because it's a lot of brothers who like, look, man, I'm told no. You
Names in
know,
Central Park would beg to differ, Doc.
yeah, hey man, hey brother, shoot, like I understand, man. There is absolutely no circumstance under which you can say, oh well, you ain't got to worry. You know what I'm saying? Like it's probably gonna be all right no matter what. No, there's always that underlying potentiality as a black man in America that anything can happen to you. And the fact is, even people who like you will rationalize your absolute destruction, even if it happened on film in front of them, because they understand that this is a necessity of the economic and political system that we have created and sustained and lived under for hundreds of years.
Gee whiz, Doc. Doc went full commando on him right there in a solid sentence. Don't even put a period at the end. Just leave it open ended.
I mean, I'll
Look,
take it if you
man.
want to, or I'll live it.
No, but look, go ahead. If you gonna pull out the choppers too, go ahead. Let them sing.
Nah, like fully extended clips, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about legacy, you have to start from the beginning. And I get really sick and fucking tired of people starting wherever they want to. Let's start from the beginning. I have shared this with friends and coworkers that I think there's not a racist bone in their body. It's just a lack of understanding. And we have laughed, we have shaken hands and had a drink after it. When I've been promoted and other things have happened positive for me corporately, I've been told like, damn, man, like, man, you just getting a nod. I said, bro, don't get mad at me if you have had a 400-year head start and I caught up with you. That is not my fault. Completely yours. You should be lapping me. We are just now getting to the point where we're even remotely attempting to level the playing field, not just for black men, but for underrepresented communities in general. And when you say in general, that means that there's the entire population that's non-white. And don't get me wrong, I talk to my white brothers and sisters about this on corporately as well. You shouldn't feel like you're getting taken out to the pasture by the company because someone says that they have a metric that you need to meet. If you're excellent at your job, you should keep your job. If you're subpar and somebody's better and they happen to be a person of color, you should absolutely be replaced.
Now let's go ahead and address the elephant in the
I
in the
mean,
cabin.
you always gonna be replaced regardless of the color. I just want them in the companies to look for a person of color as well.
Mediocrity.
That's part of my
Mediocrity
their
responsibility.
talents are representative of what it is they need. Because
Mediocrity is
that's
praised in corporate, and we know that. As long as
well,
you're, in most cases, as long as you're of the right complexion. But that's a conversation for another day when we go break down the system of corporate structure in America But
I
not
was
today.
gonna
We talking
say
about personal legacy.
legacy.
Cause
And
down
see,
with
that's the
big
funny
business.
thing is like
No,
It's
but
a
listen,
is
line.
that
big businesses,
It's
we
a
are looking
line.
for sponsorships and advertisements. Hit our emails and our different social media platforms.
no, it's funny because it's like
It's a
who's
line.
gonna like
Nah,
at the end of go ahead, brother.
bro, would you agree? It's a line. Like you see it. Like, well, I think you see it. I don't want to
But
speak.
DJ, even real quick, that conversation that we had before, where you and your coworker were talking about bonuses, and his reaction to the bonus was totally different than what our collective reaction would be to it, just
Yeah,
because of our upbringings. It's not even the current
yeah.
status of life; it's just the upbringings. Like we have been raised to be appreciative, just in
I've
general.
learned.
It don't have to be like
I'll be honest. I've learned not to be. Like when
not
we
to be
talk about
appreciative.
legacy, there is a expectation that you take what you get. No, you accept what you earn. Okay, there's a difference. I don't fucking take what I get anymore. I accept what I earn. I know if I overachieved. I know if I met expectations. I know if I underperformed, and they're just taking care of me this year. And I have honest conversation. I say, look, I know this year was a down year for me personally. But I communicate. I had this going on. And this is another thing about establishing your legacy. Black folks are afraid to share what's going on personally at work because, in typical fashion, the expectation is that it's going to be held against me.
Now,
So,
disclaimer, real quick.
come on.
Because now when we talking about the corporate structure, we've all been in corporate for years at this point. One thing I will say is that our counterparts, Palm side, is they overshare a lot.
No, it's so I was going to
But for
address
us, we're very private people, especially when it comes to communications
that. We're not.
amongst the two.
Push back on you. We're not very private people.
No.
In certain
Amongst
settings.
We have
amongst
to be
us.
in some ways.
Exactly. But listen,
But I said in certain settings.
between us three, we're colleagues. We're
Yeah.
like we know it. Like we know pretty much everything that's going on. Like we don't
Sure.
know down to the minute and a second. But
it's a cultural difference.
Exactly.
If I say to you or Dr. Loving, "Hey man, here's what's going," I'll use my kid as an example of the legacy building conversation I had to have. My kid had to have a major operation, which we'll flush out in future episodes. But okay, my kid had to have an operation. I don't want to tell anybody at my job about it because you know what happens? Let's say, I don't know, traffic is bad and I'm late for work. It's just traffic. If anybody else is late, if it's me, well, he has this situation going on with his kid. How committed is he? If I take a day off work, anybody else is just taking a day. They could be doing family things, going on vacation. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's something with his kid. I know how to communicate. I don't
now
need
do you become even more of a charity case?
No, you don't. You become more of an opportunity for exile.
Yeah.
You're not getting any charity
because you got an elevator. You got an elevator terminate.
No, it's literally one of those things. This is a wounded gazelle situation. It's a wounded gazelle. They say, "Oh, well, he's got the kid," and blah blah blah, and then they're like, "Oh, let's move into this. There's less stress. It's also less money.
It's a lateral
less
move.
Opportunity.
It's a lateral move.
That's what they're trying to tell you. See, that's
I know.
And so I get his whole point. Like in any situation that's like this, you have to be very cautious about showing weakness.
Yeah.
On any level.
If you're not communicating from a place of strength.
Exactly.
Especially with someone that is not. And look, I work for a great organization, but they also have the same way I want to protect the organization is their family for all intents and purposes. My family is mine. I'm trying to protect my family. They're trying to protect theirs. So if I show signs of, hey, I can't get the absolute maximum out of this guy right now, we may need to consider other options. I'm not a fool. I've sat in those rooms.
Productivity.
So what happens is you evaluate it.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And so based on that knowledge, I try to diversify myself. And this is, I guess, getting back to the legacy piece. I try to diversify myself. I want to be in a position that I can fire my company before they fire me. And they can replace, look, they have a candidate pool that they can replace me. My family doesn't have a candidate pool to replace me or my income. And so for me, it's incumbent upon me to be the CEO of Wells Family Incorporated, that I have a plan in place whereby which, if they say no to me, I can continue to say yes to my family. So when I think about legacy at its core, that is the first layer of it. So that's the first, we think about the pyramid, that's the first layer of the pyramid. Second layer of the pyramid, how do I protect my wife and kids if I'm not here? So I have over-insured myself, and I plan on owning these policies soon and fucking very soon, with accumulation of a cash value that if we need to take from, we can. Then the third piece of this is alternative investing, getting into VC ventures, business ventures that I can associate myself with up and coming, not me, my family. Wells Family Incorporated can invest themselves in other entities, not just other entities, but being intentional. Black entities that require funding, that look like us, that can do things that are productive and create ecosystems for other people. So when I think about my legacy and what I wanted to be, I had one for myself. I had to sit down with my wife and talk about what that looked like for our family, though, because now we have a family name. So what do we want to be known for? We want to be known for being productive citizens globally, creating ecosystems, but we specifically want to start with an emphasis on Black families and business, because it starts with us.
All
and
right.
If we can show, I'm sorry, you go.
No, because I'm finna say it. I'm saying this in the way that it's got to be said. Bump all of that. Let's be real. Legacy for us is about survival.
Facts.
It's nice. It's nice to frame it in the way that you're doing it, and it's beautiful because that's the way we have to for ourselves.
Man,
but in all actuality, our legacy is all based in pure survival.
Brother, we live, all three of us, in nice ass neighborhood, but we all feel this tenuous existence where
if I see the lights outside my window, perfect.
It just happened the other night.
It's Christmas time. We got the lights up on the house. One of the Christmas tree blinks, and we just put the Christmas tree and turned it on the other night. And my wife said, I was about to look out the window and say, "Why the police around here?" And she was like, "It's the tree." White people would never understand that.
You feel like you are one wrong interaction away,
and
from having.
But you are
from having it.
Your entire legacy could be. And here's another deep. It's in the back of mine. A simple misunderstanding or mistake could be the derailment of either my life and or my legacy.
You know how you argue with your lady, and you start thinking, what if somebody called the police because voices were raised? Now
I had on a hoodie in my yard the other night, putting the lights up, and I was like, "What if somebody rolled by and think that I'm casing my own house?"
Man, look, brother, I've never been other than opening my door for people. Like if I'm just outside my house, people either assume I'm somebody working there or vagrant. I was up there cutting my grass, and this lady drove by in a car and asked me to come cut her grass. I'm not joking with you. This happened to me. This Black man couldn't possibly own this home.
And see that is a sign that it's levels to it, right? Where it's just like, hey,
but like I don't want. I
Even
want
look,
my child.
even
I want
Ti
my
couldn't get in his
child.
own neighborhood. Remember?
Yeah, but I want my child to be in a position where if I can help it, and this is, as the father of a daughter, I want her to have not just every opportunity, but I want her to be able to avoid every humiliation, man.
Now, but does not humiliate. So, what is the correlation of humility and humiliation? That's a whole nother
Nah,
episode that we'll start
man.
next season when we bring on some therapists and stuff like that.
Humility is a chosen state of being where you say, I am going to be a humble person. I've never heard anybody other than from a king perspective talk about being humiliated in a positive standpoint.
Exactly.
And Black women get humiliated frequently. They get ridiculed. They get called masculine. They get called bossy. They get called all sorts of horrible things except the beautiful queens that they are. And they hear it consistently. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Black women hear that all the time. So what I want, and I know it's not realistic for me to be able to create it financially, but I don't want her to ever have to depend upon these people for her affirmations. I want her to be able to look within herself, and then for her resources, I want her to know that daddy got it. Daddy fucking put that shit together and got that shit for you, baby.
But how important is that for your legacy, though?
Man,
because that's the more than money. How much impact does that create on your legacy? Because now your daughter speaks your name in high regards for the rest of her life, and her offspring shall know. And it's like, you know what? My name rings bells, man.
It ain't even so much about me just ringing the bell. I'm just saying, like, this is what they face, and if we can, like, man, there's brothers who will try to do some things, and hopefully they'll put some things together, but they just may not be as suited. But for gentlemen like ourselves, we have absolutely no excuse in not making opportunities for our kids and not making sure they understand the nature of these opportunities and not reducing the chance for them to have to go through some of the things that we've had to go through. We as Black people need to be more serious about this as our forefathers were, because they stepped through whole movements understanding that the people who were alive at that time would never really accept them. But they hoped that the people of the future would understand that humankind is one race and start to begin to move accordingly going forward. And we still aren't there yet. And there's still a whole lot of work to be done. But I promise you this, like, all of those people who did that work before expected additional work to be done after them. And we have that work to do.
So you say all that to say, I'm about to ask you this. Like we say, we acknowledging that there are people that embark on this journey from a purely financial standpoint, and maybe they'll embrace the balance, the other part of it. Let me do this and do that. But the importance to understand is throughout the process, something, they're watching, right? If you have children, they're watching you as you do this. So if you accumulate through sideways deals and tricks, schemes, but then try to impart values later on, you've also got to acknowledge that they watched you do it the wrong way.
People see they watch what you do way more than they listen to what you say.
Exactly.
And more than anything else, they understand how they feel about it. And there's a natural feeling of uneasiness when you watch people get tricked and get scammed. No matter how that goes down for you and you end up eating off of it, little kids know, and they start thinking like this ain't right. you know, and
So
they question their whole entire existence in certain way.
So that
Go
brings me to the
DJ, because
point that
I
I want.
see
No, this is the point
because
that
he got
DJ
both hands up.
No, I'm about to throw it to you, DJ, because this is what I want to address now. Is this next piece because it's organically brought itself this pimple to the head, and we finna bust it. We talking about this and the legacy portion, the financial part. You know, a lot of people have a mindset and a goal of creating entities, processes, so that offspring and future are not able to screw it up, you know, on their own, trusts and things of that nature. But it further brings the solidification of that you really got to impart these values. The continuing education part, where it's as I'm doing, I need to teach. And I'm bringing this up because I've been heavily, really, back into Booker T. Washington and the way that he started Tuskegee and, for his life, how he did it. And, everybody held him in high regards when he came down, when he came to Tuskegee to start the school. And, they started in a shack and all of this. But once they got some properties and things, he said that he wanted to use, I think, one of the hen houses, one of the old hen houses, because they bought an old plantation. He wanted to use one of the hen houses for, I forgot what the purpose was, and he told one of the students or whatever, hey, we're gonna go down here and we're gonna clean this about in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever. And he said, you gonna do it too? And he said, how can I expect any of these students to do something that I'm not willing to do myself?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important part of legacy is if I'm not willing to do this work, or if you've never seen me do this work, how could you ever respect me telling you how to do this? And I've always really eyed that in corporate to be able to, to be fully honest, this is how I judge people in corporate. Because, I ain't gonna judge you as a person, but I'm gonna judge you on this business the same way that our jobs judge us. We can call it performance, reviews and all of that, but they're judging you.
Yeah.
Did you hit these numbers? Did you hit these metrics? Did you hit your goals, KPIs, all of that talk? Did you do it? If you ain't do it, we finna judge you on a scale,
right?
And that's gonna determine what happens. That's literally every job structure, unless you're working for your family.
Right.
Nepotism is a thing, people.
And beautiful in some ways.
Of course. Especially but that's the thing, like even in nepotism, I think the nuance of the essence of that is you just doing it for the sake of doing it. You're not doing it with the intent of, legacy of the values too. It's just like, I got it, so everybody work for me because I can just keep everybody happy. But then, is anybody really doing any work? No.
But see, let's go back to the question.
Everybody, if it's the living legacy, because that's what we were talking about, right? We started this with the present legacy.
We're gonna hang out there.
What happens when everybody that's currently in the picture small, everybody tried to fit in, but someone couldn't get in? Y'all remember that? But yeah, look. The people that's in it, when everybody's working for that same goal, like, look, you got the wife, the kids, all at a given time. Like, look, we doing this with people that we don't even know yet. What happens when that 4-wheel car becomes an 18-wheeler? Got more tires running now, carrying more load, huh?
So let's start from where you asked the question, and then I'll quickly ascend to what you just ended with. The thing is, when you start in a space like you described with the Booker T situation, that's not a forward-looking thing, at least for the person that sees it as a negative. When we started talking about this, we talked about forward-looking value systems as a multiplier for not only Black folks, not only for families, communities, but for nations. If you have a forward-looking exercise that's inclusive, and you have a value system that doesn't discriminate against anyone, and it says if you have the similar mindset and you are the best person for this opportunity, I'm going to partner with you. Most of those things take care of themselves. But see, that assumes a society that doesn't have the presidential, the presidential in terms of prejudice past that we have. I'm not even going to use the word racist, which I could, but a prejudice past assumes that I have a predisposed position to you than I have for someone else. And that means that I'm going to lean into the things that I'm more familiar with. That has nothing to do with racism. That's just a simple prejudice. And for the people that are listening, I want you to understand the difference. You're only going on what you know. Racism is intentional for the most part. You are choosing to disadvantage someone else based on your position or your authority. Prejudice could simply be following tradition or what have you, because most people probably don't even know that they are until it gets too far. So that's one thing, AJ. The second thing on that is we talk about values and value systems. They're not important until they become unprofitable. That's the thing that we haven't talked about. So for the vast majority of people with wealth in this country, D&I is all of a sudden important because it's a profitable thing. So I have a ton of money. D&I is important. I should be focusing on D&I. I should donate to that. I should do this. That doesn't align with your value system. So when you ask me, what are the kids going to take from it? They're going to be confused. Well, listen, you've told me F these people my whole life with your words, actions, and money, and now I'm supposed to focus on them? That don't work together. So I think when you think about defining your legacy, three things at a minimum have to line up. Where you vote with your time, where you vote with the actions and decisions that you make, and where you vote with your money. And if those three things line up, your family can look at your words, your actions, and your finances and say, this is a living legacy that this person is leaving that they would like us to take the mantle up on. But you have to be consistent on it. It can't be in a time of convenience. What we often see too many times is that people show up for Black folks in a time of convenience where it's an opportunity. It's very momentary, so to speak, very short-lived. And the amount of money that they're giving is not even remotely. It's like throwing a chair off the Titanic. That shit's still gonna sink. Just keep the fucking chair. Like there's no reason to throw it off. But the fact of the matter is they get to say they threw it off. And at the end of the day, Black America and underserved America can no longer continue to be used as a breeding ground for legacies to be built for other communities, and nor those
wait a minute. Hey, DJ, and I ain't even talking about your name. I'm talking about, hey, Club DJ. Run that back. Run that back.
No longer can Black America or underserved communities in America continue to be breeding grounds for legacies to be built, and we're not building our own because other people and other communities are building legacies of our value systems, our culture, and the ecosystems that we employ and create every day, and we're non-participants in them.
You done with OPP?
It's a fucking problem.
Yeah, nah, man. So for me and my part, I feel like, I always try to get down to the most granular place in terms of where impact can be had. And I feel like in an organized way, that's the family or the household. And so there's certain things that you need to have in place. You need to have a risk management plan if something should happen to the breadwinner of the home. And so that's insurance. There's
immediate legacy.
There's disability insurance, and you should have it in a position where it does create not just the means of meeting the ends that are close to you, but also the opportunity for you all to build, which is a legacy. And so that is an important part of responsibly managing your own home. And so that's a thing that folks have to learn and be able to recognize as an important responsibility of theirs. I think that along with that, no matter what it is that you leave, if you don't leave the understanding that responsibility is important and you have to handle things, then you leave it all in folly. And there's a potential of all manner of craziness happening, especially if you are the most successful person in a family and then you pass away and leave property to somebody else in the family who's never managed anything before. There could be issues. Tax issues jump up right off the bat. And I say this because it's important to say it, because I'm sure there have been plenty of families. They've had whole Vice episodes on television about this, where people are dealing with the fact that a legacy was lost because, people didn't cooperate and understand that they needed to come together to pay the municipal taxes and the land was seized.
Listen, they got Al Capone on taxes. They ain't get him on the gangster stuff. They got him on taxes.
Yeah, man. I'm just saying, like,
shit, Big Meech. I'm sorry, man. let me chill.
They get folks on taxes all the time, and so you have to be on top of these things. And so I just say this to say that there are elements of this that are about the way in which you want your offspring to see themselves, treat the world, and be as people. And that's extraordinarily important. But another part of this is what you want to have happen financially to make sure that the impact that you're leaving is a positive one and consistent with your values, right? And there's only so much you can do as generation to generation goes on. But, the idea of someone who is a hardworking person ending up a couple generations later with people who absolutely don't want to do anything, not even something charity minded, they just want to sit on their behinds and, lay in the recliner, drink liquor, and, like, they like, oh, my life is paid for. You know what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't mean anything about you doing what it is that you were supposed to do. But sometimes, legacy and having something based on a legacy is not great for everybody if they aren't prepared for it. And so your job as a person who's leaving something is to prepare the beneficiaries to be able to be responsible for what it is they're going to manage when you're gone.
I think DJ, you finna go here because
No, don't say it.
I can put my name on a building, but what's gonna happen when one of my lineage?
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Go out here and do fumble the bag, fumble the ball.
So
now what does that do to my legacy? So that further the conversation of how important.
So now you brought this up earlier. Now it comes full circle before we close. Doc did an excellent job laying it out. I knew you was going to ask that. I knew you was going down the road to asking that question. But now we talk about protections. Why build something that people can throw bricks at and destroy it without any type of armor? This is when we talk about things like family trust. We start talking about legacy planning. We start talking about things like that. See, what we do, we stop short of having the investment conversation. Yo, invest. Okay, cool. Step one. You are just entering the game. This is not advanced planning. The folks that are advanced planning are paying less taxes than you pay. You work at McDonald's. There's no knock on anybody that works at McDonald's, but you should feel offended that the CEO of major corporations in this company pay less taxes than you. And you should feel offended for a number of reasons. Number one, you have an opportunity to figure out how to do it too. Number two, they figured it out and you haven't. Now, keep in mind, I have not brought the amount of money they've made into the situation yet. Because the more money I make, I would love to pay less taxes. I'm not going to hold you. I'm not going to lie to you. But I also understand I have a dual responsibility. I have a responsibility to contribute to society in a way that helps the greater good. That determines what type of person you are. But just specifically for this conversation in terms of legacy building, if you create a trust for 3 to 5 generations, that's typically, a lifespan of 80 to 100 years, or 75 to 100 years, I guess. You can dictate what happens with that money. So if you're not meeting certain parameters based on what the policyholder thinks should happen, you can set parameters in place. You don't have to just bow out. So that was our problem growing up. At least I saw family members. I can't take it all with me. Y'all certainly not going to spend it when I'm gone.
Ooh, have you ever seen a U-Haul hitched to a hearse?
Exactly. Well, why don't you set it up in such a manner that only the people in the family that are doing what they should be doing can access it?
They ain't making no more land, I heard. Well, the folks over in the United Arab Emirates have figured out how to create new land. But guess what? I've also learned that the folks in the Bahamas was doing it years ago with the conch shells, but that's another story.
They're buying air property.
Of course, that's what you do in New York City all day. But that's another conversation. But look, back to what you was talking about.
At the end of the day, all I'm really saying is, in terms of legacy, man, there's so many ways for us to do it. But how invested in are we? We talk about people being invested in things. I have no sympathy for people that are not invested in learning. If you're not investing in learning, that's not about your education level. It's not about how much money you make. You need to be invested in learning. Learn how to protect you and yours. We come here and do it for free in the best way we know how. If I don't get a question from you in the DMs, if you don't DM any one of us, you have no interest and you have no investment in learning. And that's fine. But you also don't get to complain. You either have an interest or a complaint. Decide which one you have. And for those of you who have interest, we're here to serve you. For those of you who have complaints, we'll show you the results of the people who have interest, because we are going to move forward. We're going to hang our hats on helping people establish and better understand how to create legacies that are lasting, and then pass it on to their families. Furthermore, we're going to continue to show up the same way, authentic. We're not going to be for everybody. Some of y'all drink coffee, some of y'all drink tea. We appreciate y'all who drank both.
I like to provide the cream that if you're British, you put a little cream in your tea. And if you're anybody else, you put a little cream in your coffee. I like to provide the cream,
But we're here.
Rich.
But I think it's important to know that, look,
everybody not at that point though.
Yeah.
Everybody's not here, because I want to also point out that we are, as us three, as profound as we hope that we sound, we're still in the beginning stages of this journey ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not wild beyond our riches. We aren't, 3-4 generations deep with wealth. Our names have not, honestly, I attribute.
I mean, I got a couple of streets named after me and some shit like that.
No, it was no, seriously, that's
I'm fucking
but no, for me, honestly, it's my grandparents was the first, because their parents were,
you got a little pressure, AJ.
But and that's why I say I always check my privilege, and then at the same time,
you the only dude that could drive cars and homecoming and just park.
Listen, no. Besides all of that, the way that I understand legacy as I get older, and I look at how the dynamics of my family on both sides, because both of my grandfathers were, they were significant in terms of position. My grandfather was a sheriff's deputy with the first black sheriff in the South after Reconstruction, Lucius Amerson. He was a sheriff's deputy for him. My other grandfather was a well-known educator in the county where my mom's from, and a judge, a municipal judge. Like my entire life growing up with them,
that ain't
they were
regular.
always recognizable. You know, like we would go to Winn-Dixie and everybody like, hey, Mr. Williams, you taught my mom, you taught me. And I remember, you'd be like, you taught my mom or taught me, you taught
you
my
used to get
mom, and
that
I came
extra.
in your courtroom and you gave me a break.
Used to get that extra cut of beef. And
nah,
Winn-Dixie cut
no, on some real, we got extra cookies.
Extra cookies.
Extra cookies at the bakery. We should,
that was for you, man. You was probably real personal.
No, every kid. If you went to Winn-Dixie Bakery, if you don't know what Winn-Dixie is,
Not in Selma.
Hey, but this is where my mom grew up. But we would go to Winn-Dixie. We would go to Winn-Dixie, and you go to bakery, and every kid you could just get a free sample cookie. Whichever any of the cookies that they was baking, you could get a sample cookie for free. And so, like, my granddaddy would always take us there because he wanted a cookie too, but they would always give us because we was with him, and they knew he liked cookies. So they used to give us like 3-4 cookies a piece. We used to basically walk out with a dozen, just because they knew Mr. Williams.
And I know Williams. And your granddaddy was taxing them cookies, wasn't it?
Man, look, that's a whole other conversation we have outside.
I was gonna say each of y'all was giving cookies.
But my granddaddy with them sweets, man, because look, he had a Cadillac with a trunk full, dig. That's a whole other conversation. But look, so like I said, as I grow older, I truly start to understand and embrace legacy a lot more because, I'm the grandson. I'm not the only one. But at the same time, there are, I don't want to be the one, to derail what I see as a pretty good track record. And I want to take that same track record and increase upon it. It's almost like just the legacy aspect of, the cliche like athletics. Like, kind of like the way that LeBron is right now and Dion is right now, where everybody, if you're a great athlete, people expect your child to be a great athlete. And so you kind of want to foster that in, and you instill those legacies and things of that nature. Marvin Harrison, Jr., Marvin Harrison's son, he out here really embracing his pop's legacy in terms of football. But, just that whole thing, but so everything ain't for everybody. You see that athletes with a bunch of kids, and some of their kids ain't athletes, but just because your legacy is this, like, Doc, you financial planning all day long, but your daughter's legacy doesn't have to be in the same vein. But that's the beauty of the values where you impart where, I'm going to say it first, for the first time ever, people are more important than things, where you are really putting it out there like, the impact, the true impact and the legacy for this name, which is ultimately what we're doing, is the name. And, because it's you want it to ring bells, is to go out and, to embrace people, live in the human experience, help others, continue the good, where it's pushing this narrative forward where it's okay to light other people's candles. Your flame's not going to go out.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to recognize, is that giving and loving is not a thing that's
I see what you did there.
Deplete you.
I see what you did there. Giving and loving. Okay, Doc.
Yeah, it's not going to deplete you. And so it's important to recognize that. And, I don't want to go on too long, but my point is that when you are trying to create a legacy, it's important that you lead with love, that you understand that you don't necessarily get to control everything, but you can set some things up so that people can be as successful as possible and use this in the best way possible. Destin's point, you want them to use these tools as something that's going to help them rather than a sharp instrument that ends up hurting them. And so they have to have a level of maturity to make that work for them. And so legacy is about provision, but it's also about a certain level of foresight, where you start to look and say, okay, let me make sure that I'm doing the right thing for these people. And especially if you already know them and you have some idea of their shortcomings or weaknesses, then you can start to think about, hey, all right, what is it that I write into this trust? Is there a spendthrift clause, which that means that you set it up so that the person can't just invade it and spend all of the money, right? There's a lot of ways in which you can handle these issues that are in front of you. There's a tool for every task. You need to just know either who to talk to, but the first thing you need to know is just ignoring it is not going to make it better. And talking to somebody will likely start to lead you to the right person who you need to talk to get the job done that you need to get done. So I think that the communicative and all of these other elements have been brought in to talk about it, what it means to leave a legacy. And functionally, we're talking about what it is that you need to make sure that you do or don't do, so that your money is going where it is that it needs to go. Your life force, the work that you've created, or the product of that work, goes to the place that makes sense based on what it is that you want to accomplish. And those people are going to be able to use that to leverage and put themselves in a better position to put your family and people you care about in a better light than the light that you knew.
All right. Now, with that being said, I'm going to ask you both a very specific question, and I need a very specific answer. I don't want any explanations. I just want a yes or a no. And I will start with you, BREADren. Then I will ask for your answer, Doc. The question is, can you build a legacy without money? BREADren.
Yes.
Doc.
Yes.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will end this season of BREADren. We appreciate any and all who have listened, who will listen, and who shall pass it on to others. Do I believe that you can build a legacy without money? Yes. Can you have happiness without money? Yes. But one thing we will acknowledge is that money is a tool, and when used the right way, can make things different, we shall say. Loving Consulting, 24/8 MMBB, and D Wells Consulting would like to thank any and all supporters of this podcast, the BREADren podcast, BREADREN podcast series on all social media. Follow us. Follow Dr. Ajamu Loving at Dr. Ajamu Loving. That's DRAJAMULOVING. Yeah, we do call him Dr. AJ Loving. And I'm also AJ. So, he has the doctor in front. So it's very distinguishable from just the plain AJ. Follow Empower, Engage, Execute. If you don't know how to spell that, just say it into Google. It'll spell it right as long as you don't have a twang to your voice. You can follow 24/8 MMBB. That's 248 MMBB on all social media platforms. MMBBGW.com. We thank you. This episode has been sponsored by LaFlight 87. Go get you some. www.laflight87.com. LEFLIGHT87.com. We love y'all. There's nothing you can do about it. Y'all know how to find us. We'll be back next season. When that is, we don't know, and y'all won't either, but we'll let you know when we do. Peace.